For years, the truth stayed hidden, the victims forgotten, the cases left cold, until science revealed what time could not. This is decades in the dark, where cold cases are brought back to light. On January 10, 2013, 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson walked into Lowndes High School like he had hundreds of times before. Lowndes operated on long class periods known as blocks. Kendrick attended his scheduled blocks as usual, until fourth block, which he did not show up for. Teachers later described that absence as unusual. Kendrick was not known to skip class. When he didn't come home that night, his mother reported him missing just after midnight. By morning, the search had already begun. Surveillance footage shows Kendrick entering the old gym shortly after 1:00 p.m. The old gym was an older, quieter space on campus, separate from the newer gym, where large wrestling mats were stored upright along the wall. Students passed through the area between classes. Kendrick is seen walking toward the mats. That is the last confirmed image of him alive. The next morning, January 11th, students gathered in the old gym during second block. The class was quiet. They were completing written surveys, not physical activity. One female student climbed onto the stacked mats so she could sit while filling out her paper. That's when she noticed something strange. Feet in socks. At first, she thought someone was joking. Then she realized the feet weren't moving. Another student climbed up and looked down into the mat. What he saw didn't look like a prank at all. The teacher climbed onto the mats and tried to pull Kendrick out from the top, but he couldn't. The mat was then lowered to the floor and partially unrolled. Inside was Kendrick Johnson. He was vertically in the mat, head first. How could someone end up in a wrestling mat? The mats were stored vertically, tied at the center with straps. When rolled, they formed narrow openings at the top and bottom, just over 14 inches wide. Students told investigators it was common to hide shoes in or behind the mats to avoid locker fees. Kendrick had two relevant pairs of shoes. He owned a pair of white, gray, and orange Nike shoes which he wore for school. He also shared a black and white pair of Adidas shoes with another student that he wore for gym class. Kendrick's best friend said students typically tossed shoes behind the mats, not into the opening. When police arrived, the mat was lying horizontal on the floor, and Kendrick's head, right arm, and part of his torso was lying on the gym floor outside of the mat. Investigators saw an accident, not murder. They theorized that Kendrick accidentally fell into the mat while reaching for a shoe, became stuck and suffocated, unable to free himself. The official name was positional asphyxia. When a person is upside down for a prolonged period, gravity causes blood to pool in the head and upper body. Venous return is impaired. Pressure builds in small blood vessels. This can lead to facial swelling, petechiae, and post-mortem leakage of blood or fluid from the nose, mouth, and sometimes the ears. So, in a classic positional asphyxia scenario, blood can leak from facial orifices, especially after death. But was this a classic positional asphyxia scenario? Authorities said yes, but many forensic experts say it does not cleanly fit a classic positional asphyxia scenario. In a classic scenario, you typically see most of the following together. The person is clearly trapped in a position that restricts breathing. The position makes self-rescue impossible. The lungs often show congestion, increased weight, or fluid. There are few to no unexplained injuries. The body position alone explains the death without needing assumptions. The timeline of death matches when the person became trapped, and there is no credible evidence of trauma or third-party involvement. One well-known example is the Nutty Putty Cave incident, where a spelunker became stuck upside down in a narrow tunnel and died from positional asphyxia. The cause was tragic, but the mechanism was clear. However, in Kendrick's case, the space was extremely narrow relative to his body. The reason he entered that space is debated. Unexplained injuries and marks were reported in the second autopsy. Critical organs were unavailable for confirmation, and the setting was a busy school, not a remote cave. Near Kendrick's feet was his white pair of shoes. One of the black shoes was found near his head, sitting on top of a pool of blood. You would expect, if Kendrick had been reaching down into the mat for this black shoe, then got stuck and blood pooled, then leaked post-mortem, there would be blood on the shoe. But the investigators found no blood on the shoe. The other black shoe was found nearby in front of another mat. The scene raises questions, but investigators closed the case quickly. However, Kendrick's family wasn't convinced. The original autopsy conducted by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation reported no visible blunt force trauma. It stated Kendrick's lungs were of normal weight, and contained no excess fluid, which should not support a finding of positional asphyxia. Kendrick's family requested a second autopsy, and when Dr. William Anderson began, he found something that shocked and upset the family. All of Kendrick's organs from his head to his pelvis were gone, and his torso had been stuffed with newspaper. This suspiciously included the lungs, which Anderson was going to re-examine to evaluate whether asphyxiation truly occurred. The first coroner said they had been removed during the autopsy and discarded due to decomposition. The funeral home later confirmed the body arrived without organs, and that newspaper had been used to fill the cavity, something later criticized as not best practice. Dr. Anderson found hemorrhaging on the right side of Kendrick's neck and blunt force trauma to the right side of his chest. He ruled the death non-accidental. Years later, a third autopsy confirmed those findings. Despite this, no authority ever requested to review the tissue slides Dr. Anderson created. Photographs also showed two small, circular markings near Kendrick's lower back. In a lawsuit filed by his parents, the marks were described as consistent with stun gun injuries. Such injuries are typically small, round lesions that appear in pairs, spaced in a way that matches the electrodes of a stun gun or taser. Authorities never offered an explanation for the marks. They were not ruled injuries. They were not ruled artifacts. They remain unexplained. The school had 290 hours of surveillance footage that the Johnson family, in 2013, had to sue to see. 2 cameras were missing significant time. One more than an hour, another more than 2. The school explained that the cameras were motion activated and did not cover the mat storage area. The footage shows Kendrick entering the gym, then nothing. The documentary, Finding Kendrick Johnson, later identified hallway footage showing students entering the gym during the same time period when no gym footage exists. If the cameras were indeed motion activated, there should be footage of these students in the gym. This led to theories that the footage had been deleted or doctored. If it was murder, who would have wanted Kendrick dead? About a year earlier, Kendrick had been involved in a fight on a school bus. According to his best friend, Brian Bell grabbed Kendrick's dreadlocks. A fight broke out, and Kendrick won. While Brian claimed in an interview that he and Kendrick were friends, Kendrick's best friend felt he held a grudge. An anonymous email would later surface, with names redacted, claiming a motive and a planned confrontation. We'll use Jack, John, and Jill to fill in the redacted names. My best friend was at a party Saturday night with Jill, a Lowndes High junior who dates Jack, and Jill was upset about something that Jack had said to her, so her and my best friend started talking. And by the end of the night, Jill had told my friend everything that the whole nation has been wondering for the past year. She told my friend what really happened to Kendrick Johnson. Jill said that about a little over a year ago she had sexual intercourse with Kendrick Johnson while she was dating Jack. Jack found out and threatened KJ. KJ told Jack to meet him in the old gym after 3rd block, and he would have his knife ready. Jack and John, who had just transferred back to LHS, met KJ and killed him. Jack has also been heard admitting to killing KJ more than once over the phone. His brother, John, also got drunk at a party on the 4th of July and told many people that Jack killed KJ, and that he, John, was tired of keeping it a secret. Police interviewed the sender, but felt this was based on rumors, so no charges followed. On October 31st, 2013, U.S. Attorney Michael Moore reopened the case and identified 2 brothers as persons of interest, Brian and Brandon Bell. Their father, Rick Bell, was a high-ranking FBI agent. However, nothing came of this. 7 judges would recuse themselves, formally stepping away due to potential conflicts of interest. Moore eventually resigned and joined a private law firm, and the Department of Justice declined to file charges. In 2021, newly elected Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Polk reopened the case, offering a $500,000 reward and conducting a year-long review. In 2022, he closed it again, saying no evidence of homicide was found. Was Kendrick Johnson the victim of a tragic accident? Or was the truth buried beneath missing footage, lost evidence, and questions no one ever fully answered? More than a decade later, Kendrick's story remains unresolved, and like so many who have studied it, we're left both perplexed and compelled by the questions that refuse to fade. This is Decades in the Dark, where science brings the past to light. Subscribe for more stories where justice never expires.